The 1 hour that has the power to change your entire life. Imagine that tomorrow morning, someone gives you a gift. Not money, not fame, not a new opportunity. Something far more valuable. One completely uninterrupted hour. No phone, no notifications, no interruptions, no responsibilities. Just 60 minutes that belong entirely to you. Now ask yourself one question. What would you do with it? Most people do not know the answer. Not because they lack dreams, not because they lack intelligence, but because somewhere along the way, they stopped believing they had control over their own time. They became busy surviving, busy responding, busy reacting. Every day became another race from one obligation to the next. Wake up, check the phone, answer messages, go to work, handle responsibilities, come home exhausted, watch something to escape, sleep, repeat. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and suddenly one morning they wonder where all the time went. The truth is that life rarely changes because of one huge opportunity. It changes because of what you repeatedly do with the ordinary hours nobody notices. That is why this audiobook is not really about 1 hour. It is about ownership. Ownership of your attention. Ownership of your future. Ownership of the person you are becoming. Because the greatest tragedy is not that people fail. The greatest tragedy is that millions of people slowly trade their future for distractions they will never remember. Think about the last year. How many hours disappeared scrolling through social media, watching videos you barely remember, worrying about things that never happened, complaining about problems you never attempted to solve? None of those hours felt important, yet together they quietly shaped your life. Time does not disappear dramatically. It disappears one unnoticed hour at a time. That is exactly how success works as well. It does not arrive dramatically. It arrives one intentional hour at a time. Most people spend their lives searching for a breakthrough, a perfect opportunity, a lucky moment, a secret strategy. But history tells us something completely different. The greatest artists protected time. The greatest inventors protected time. The greatest writers protected time. The greatest entrepreneurs protected time. Not because they had more hours than everyone else, because they treated 1 hour differently than everyone else. Every person on earth wakes up with the same 24 hours. Yet after 10 years, their lives can look completely different. Why? Because hours become habits. Habits become identity. Identity becomes destiny. This means your future is already being built today. Not next year, not someday, today. Another important truth is that most people underestimate what one focused hour can accomplish. 1 hour of reading every day equals hundreds of books over a lifetime. 1 hour of exercise transforms the body. 1 hour of learning creates valuable skills. 1 hour of focused work builds businesses. 1 hour of reflection changes decisions. 1 hour of practice creates mastery. 1 hour seems small until it is repeated. That is when ordinary time becomes extraordinary. Imagine placing one small coin into a jar every day. The first few days seem meaningless. After 1 week, almost nothing has changed. After 1 month, it still feels insignificant. But years later, the jar tells a completely different story. Time works the same way. Small investments create massive outcomes. The problem is that people only notice dramatic results. They rarely notice small daily investments. Because of this, they stop too early. They expect transformation after 3 days. They expect confidence after 1 week. They expect success after 1 month. When it does not happen, they quit, not realizing they stopped just before momentum was about to appear. Momentum is invisible in the beginning, but unstoppable once it begins. Another lesson most people never learn is that your first hour often decides the quality of the next 23. How you begin your day matters. If your first hour belongs to distraction, your mind remains distracted. If your first hour belongs to stress, your emotions remain reactive. If your first hour belongs to purpose, the rest of the day begins following that direction. Imagine waking up tomorrow and refusing to touch your phone. Instead, you spend 60 minutes reading, thinking, writing, planning, learning, training, preparing yourself before the world demands your attention. You would feel different before breakfast, not because the hour magically changed your life, because it changed your state of mind. And your state of mind influences every decision that follows. Most people spend their mornings reacting. Very few spend them creating. That difference compounds every single day. Another powerful truth is that success is rarely created during moments of comfort. It is created during moments of intentional effort. The hour you want to skip, the chapter you do not feel like reading, the workout you want to postpone, the difficult conversation you keep avoiding. Those are the hours that quietly build extraordinary lives, because every meaningful achievement asks the same question. What are you willing to do when nobody is watching? Will you continue when there is no applause? Will you improve when nobody notices? Will you stay committed before results appear? The answer to those questions determines far more than talent ever will. Another important idea is that protecting 1 hour is actually protecting your future. Every distraction competes for your attention because attention has value. Companies compete for it. Applications compete for it. Advertisements compete for it. Entertainment competes for it. Because wherever attention goes, life follows. If someone controls your attention long enough, they begin influencing your habits. If they influence your habits, they influence your future. This is why protecting your attention is no longer optional. It is essential. 1 focused hour each day becomes an act of reclaiming your own life, a declaration that your future deserves more attention than endless distraction. Imagine yourself 5 years from today. There are 2 versions of you. The first version continued living exactly as before, waiting, reacting, postponing, allowing distractions to consume every free moment. The second version protected 1 hour every single day, 1 hour of growth, 1 hour of learning, 1 hour of discipline, 1 hour of becoming. The difference between those 2 people will not be luck. It will not be talent. It will simply be the accumulated value of 1 intentional hour repeated thousands of times. That is the quiet power hidden inside 60 minutes. Most people never discover it because they never protect it. But beginning today, you can. Not by changing your entire life overnight, simply by changing 1 hour. Because sometimes the smallest decision creates the biggest transformation. And in the next part, we will uncover the greatest thief of time that silently steals years from millions of people without them ever realizing what they have lost. The greatest thief of time is invisible. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 10 extra years added to your life. Not 10 extra years at the end, 10 extra years beginning today. What would you do differently? Would you finally learn that skill you keep postponing? Would you start writing the book you have been talking about for years? Would you begin exercising? Would you spend more time with your family? Would you build the business that exists only inside your imagination? Most people answer yes, yet tomorrow morning, they will live exactly as they did yesterday. Why? Because the greatest thief of time does not look dangerous. It looks ordinary. It arrives quietly. It whispers instead of shouting. It says, "You have plenty of time." Those 5 words have destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Because once the mind believes there will always be another tomorrow, urgency disappears. And when urgency disappears, action disappears with it. Days become comfortable. Weeks pass unnoticed. Months blend together. Years quietly disappear. The tragedy is that very few people notice what is happening until it is too late. Another important truth is that time is stolen in minutes, not years. Nobody wakes up one morning and suddenly loses a decade. A decade disappears 5 minutes at a time. 5 minutes scrolling. 5 minutes procrastinating. 5 minutes saying, "I will do it later." Those 5 minutes seem harmless, but repeated every day, they become hundreds of hours every year. Imagine placing a tiny hole in the bottom of a large water tank. At first, nothing appears different. The tank still looks full, but hour after hour, day after day, water continues escaping. Eventually, the tank becomes empty. Life works the same way. Small leaks create enormous losses. Unfortunately, most people spend their lives trying to find bigger opportunities instead of fixing the small leaks. Another powerful idea is that distractions have become more intelligent than ever before. Years ago, distractions ended. Television eventually turned off. Stores closed. Work finished. Silence returned. Today, distraction never sleeps. The phone follows you everywhere. The screen is always waiting. Another notification, another message, another video, another headline, another reason to give away your attention. Without realizing it, people have stopped controlling technology. Technology has started controlling people. The first thing millions of people touch every morning is not a book, not a journal, not their goals. It is a glowing screen asking for their attention, before their own dreams even have a chance to speak. And once attention is scattered, focus becomes difficult. A distracted mind struggles to build an extraordinary life, because extraordinary work requires uninterrupted thinking. Another lesson most people never learn is the difference between being busy and being productive. Being busy feels satisfying. Answering emails, attending meetings, responding to notifications, running errands, completing endless small tasks. At the end of the day, exhaustion creates the illusion of achievement. But exhaustion is not always evidence of progress. Ask yourself one question. Did today's activities actually move your life forward? Or did they simply keep you occupied? There is a tremendous difference. Productive people ask, What matters most today? Busy people ask, what should I do next? One question creates progress. The other creates motion without direction. Another important truth is that attention determines the quality of your life. Whatever receives your attention begins shaping your future. If your attention belongs to negativity, negativity grows. If your attention belongs to learning, wisdom grows. If your attention belongs to creation, opportunity grows. Your attention is like sunlight. Whatever it shines upon begins growing stronger. This is why protecting 1 hour each day becomes so valuable. For 60 minutes, you decide where the light goes. Not the world, not social media, not endless distractions. You. That single decision begins changing everything. Another powerful concept is the illusion of tomorrow. The human mind naturally assumes there will always be another chance. Another Monday, another month, another year. But life does not guarantee another opportunity. Every successful person eventually realizes something uncomfortable. Someday is not a day on the calendar. It never arrives. Only today exists. Only this hour exists. Only this moment exists. The future is built entirely from present decisions. Nothing more, nothing less. Imagine two friends graduating from school together, both intelligent, both ambitious, both full of dreams. One protects 1 hour every day for learning and personal growth. The other tells himself he will start when life becomes less busy. 10 years later, they appear completely different. One has mastered valuable skills, built confidence, created opportunities. The other still talks about what he hopes to do someday. The difference was never intelligence. It was accumulated hours. One invested them, the other spent them. That is how lives quietly separate. Not in dramatic moments, in ordinary ones. Another lesson is that clarity comes from silence. Most people fear silence. The moment things become quiet, they reach for entertainment, music, television, their phone, anything to avoid being alone with their thoughts. But your greatest ideas rarely arrive during noise. They arrive during quiet reflection, when the mind finally has room to think. One protected hour gives your mind something it desperately needs: space. Space to reflect, space to solve problems, space to imagine possibilities, space to hear your own thoughts instead of everyone else's opinions. That space is becoming increasingly rare, which means it is becoming increasingly valuable. Finally, remember this: nobody intentionally wastes their life. They simply underestimate the value of one ordinary hour, again and again, until years have disappeared. But the beautiful truth is that the same hour capable of quietly destroying your future is also capable of quietly building it. The choice belongs to you. Tomorrow morning, that hour will arrive once again. The question is not whether you will have it. The question is whether you will own it. Because in the next part, you will discover why the first 60 minutes you dedicate to yourself each day have the power to reshape your identity, your confidence, and ultimately the direction of your entire life. 1 hour a day can create a completely different person. There is a question that very few people ever ask themselves, not because it is difficult, but because the answer is uncomfortable. The question is this: who would you become if you protected 1 hour every single day for the next 5 years? Close your eyes for a moment And imagine that person, someone who reads every day, learns every day, exercises every day, reflects every day, improves every day. Now imagine someone else, a person who spends that same hour scrolling through endless content, complaining, waiting, reacting, escaping boredom. Both people were given the exact same 60 minutes. One built a future, the other consumed time. That is the hidden power of 1 hour. It does not simply change your schedule. It slowly changes your identity. And identity is far more powerful than motivation. Most people believe their identity determines their habits. But the opposite is often true. Your habits quietly build your identity. Every action sends your brain a message. When you choose to read instead of scrolling, your mind says, "I am someone who learns." When you exercise instead of making excuses, your mind says, "I am someone who follows through." When you sit down to work despite distractions, your mind says, "I am someone who finishes what I start." These messages seem small, but they accumulate, day after day, month after month, year after year. Eventually they become beliefs, and beliefs become the foundation of your character. This is why lasting transformation always begins with repeated actions rather than dramatic promises. Another important truth is that confidence is not something you find. It is something you earn. Many people spend years looking for confidence. They read books about confidence, watch videos about confidence, wait for confidence to appear. But confidence is not created by thinking. It is created by evidence. Every promise you keep becomes evidence. Every difficult task you complete becomes evidence. Every hour invested in your own growth becomes evidence. Slowly, the voice inside your head begins to change. Instead of saying, "I hope I can do this," it begins saying, "I have done difficult things before." That small change is life-changing because confidence built on evidence cannot easily be destroyed. Another powerful lesson is that consistency always defeats intensity. Imagine someone who studies for 10 hours in one day, then quits for 2 weeks. Now imagine someone else who studies 1 focused hour every day for an entire year. Who learns more? Who remembers more? Who builds stronger habits? The answer is obvious. Yet millions of people continue chasing intensity instead of consistency. They wait for weekends, vacations, the perfect mood, the perfect plan. Meanwhile, life rewards the person who simply keeps showing up every single day. Another key idea is that 1 hour protects your future from urgency. Most people spend their entire day reacting. Someone sends an email, they react. The phone rings, they react. A notification appears, they react. A problem happens, they react. Eventually, they realize they have spent the entire day building someone else's dream instead of their own. 1 protected hour changes this completely. It reminds you that before the world receives your energy, you deserve some of it too. Before you solve everyone else's problems, you should spend time solving your own. Before you help someone else build their future, you should spend time building yours. This is not selfish. It is responsible, because a person who never invests in themselves eventually has very little left to give. Another important truth is that your environment influences your decisions more than your motivation. Think about how many times you promised yourself you would focus. only to become distracted within minutes. It was not because you lacked discipline. It was because distractions were everywhere. The television was on. The phone was nearby. Notifications kept appearing. Messages demanded attention. Focus becomes almost impossible inside an environment designed for distraction. This is why your 1 hour must become sacred, a protected space, a protected time, a protected commitment. Close the door, silence the phone, remove the distractions. Tell the world it can wait 60 minutes because your future deserves uninterrupted attention. Another powerful lesson is that ordinary people underestimate ordinary days. They believe transformation requires extraordinary opportunities. It rarely does. Transformation usually happens on ordinary Tuesdays, ordinary Wednesday mornings, ordinary Saturday afternoons. Nothing dramatic happens. No applause. No celebration. Just another hour invested wisely. The magic appears later, months later, years later, when people begin asking, "How did you become so disciplined? How did you become so knowledgeable? How did you become so successful?" They see the result. They never see the thousands of ordinary hours that quietly created it. Success often looks like luck to people who never witness the process. Another important concept is delayed rewards. The first hour you invest may change nothing. The second hour may change nothing. Even after 1 month, life may appear almost identical. This is where most people quit. They mistake invisible progress for no progress. But growth often happens beneath the surface first. Just like planting a tree. For weeks, very little appears above the ground. Yet underneath, roots are spreading, becoming stronger, preparing for future growth. Your 1 hour works the same way. Your discipline grows first. Your focus grows first. Your character grows first. The visible results always arrive later. This is why patience is part of the process. Another powerful truth is that the greatest investment you will ever make is not in stocks, not in property, not in business. It is in yourself. Skills cannot easily be taken away. Wisdom cannot easily be stolen. Character cannot easily be destroyed. Every hour invested in yourself continues paying dividends for decades. That makes it one of the highest return investments available to any human being. Finally, imagine yourself standing at the end of your life, looking back. There will be countless things you cannot remember. Meetings, television shows, random social media posts, endless distractions. But you will remember the person you became. You will remember the courage you built, the wisdom you gained, the habits you developed, the life you created. And that life will be built not by giant moments of inspiration, but by one protected hour, repeated over and over again. Because greatness is never created all at once. It is created one faithful hour at a time. And in the next part, we will discover why the world's most successful people guard their mornings like treasure, and how the first hour of your day silently determines the quality of everything that follows. Why the first hour of your day decides the rest of your life. Every morning, before you speak a single word, before you answer a single message, before the world asks anything of you, you make a decision. Most people never realize they are making it, but they do. The decision is simple. Who will control this day? Will it be your goals, or will it be everyone else's demands? That decision is often made during the first hour after waking up. Imagine two people opening their eyes at exactly the same time. The first reaches for the phone immediately. Notifications, emails, social media, news, messages. Within minutes, the outside world has entered the mind. Someone else's success, someone else's opinion, someone else's emergency, someone else's expectations. Before this person has even thought about their own future, their attention already belongs to everyone else. Now, imagine the second person. They wake up and leave the phone untouched. The room is quiet. The mind is clear. For 1 full hour they read, they write, they reflect, they exercise, they learn, they prepare themselves before facing the world. Both people had the same morning, the same sunrise, the same 60 minutes. Yet by the end of the year, they will likely be living completely different lives. Because mornings do not simply begin your day. They begin your direction. Another important truth is that your mind is most impressionable during the first hour after waking. Think of your mind as a fresh sheet of paper. Whatever is written first influences everything written afterward. If stress arrives first, your thoughts become reactive. If comparison arrives first, confidence begins shrinking. If distraction arrives first, focus becomes difficult. But if purpose arrives first, the rest of the day begins following purpose. This is why the first hour is so valuable. It is not just another 60 minutes. It is the foundation upon which the rest of the day is built. Another powerful lesson is that successful people rarely start their mornings by consuming. They begin by creating ideas, creating plans, creating knowledge, creating health, creating momentum. Consumption has its place, but creation changes lives. Imagine spending the first hour every day writing instead of scrolling, learning instead of comparing, planning instead of reacting. At first, nothing dramatic seems to happen. But after 100 mornings, you are thinking differently. After 300 mornings, you are behaving differently. After 1,000 mornings, you have become a different person. This is how transformation quietly happens. Not through one incredible day, through ordinary mornings repeated consistently. Another important idea is that momentum is created early. Have you ever noticed that one bad decision often leads to another? You oversleep. Then you rush. Because you rush, you skip breakfast. Because you skip breakfast, your energy drops. Because your energy drops, you procrastinate. Because you procrastinate, stress increases. One decision quietly influences the next. The opposite is also true. Wake up intentionally. Exercise for 30 minutes. Read 10 pages. Write your goals. Plan your priorities. Suddenly, your mind feels organized. Your emotions feel calmer. Your attention feels stronger. One good decision creates another. Momentum works both ways. The question is, which direction are you building? Another powerful truth is that discipline is easiest before distractions begin. Every hour that passes adds more decisions, more responsibilities, more interruptions, more unexpected problems. Willpower slowly becomes exhausted. That is why the morning is so valuable. You are protecting your most important work before the world becomes noisy. Think of a farmer planting seeds before a storm arrives. The storm may still come, but the seeds are already safely in the ground. Your first hour works exactly the same way. Before stress arrives, plant wisdom. Before distractions arrive, plant focus. Before pressure arrives, plant discipline. Those seeds will continue growing throughout the rest of the day. Another lesson that most people never understand is that peace is not something you discover at night. It is something you create in the morning. Many people spend their evenings wondering why they feel overwhelmed, why they accomplish so little, why they feel mentally exhausted. But the answer often began 12 hours earlier, when they surrendered the first hour of their day without intention. Morning choices become evening results, every single time. Another important concept is protecting your mental environment. Imagine trying to build a beautiful garden while allowing weeds to grow everywhere. Eventually, the weeds take over. The same thing happens inside the mind. Negative headlines, constant comparison, fear, noise, distraction. They become mental weeds. If they are planted first thing every morning, they continue growing throughout the day. Your protected hour allows you to plant something different. Gratitude, knowledge, purpose, vision, discipline. Those thoughts become the emotional environment where better decisions naturally grow. Another powerful truth is that nobody accidentally creates an extraordinary life. Extraordinary lives are designed hour by hour, choice by choice, morning by morning. The people you admire did not wake up successful one day. They built habits long before the world noticed the results. They protected time before success demanded it. They invested in themselves before anyone believed in them. That is why their success appears effortless. People see the achievement. They rarely see the thousands of quiet mornings that created it. Finally, imagine yourself waking up exactly 1 year from today. You have protected your first hour every single morning. 365 hours invested into yourself. 365 opportunities to grow, to think, to learn, to improve. Would you still be the same person? Of course not. You would speak differently, think differently, handle challenges differently, dream differently, because every morning would have quietly rewritten a small part of your identity. That is the extraordinary power hidden inside the first hour of your day. It does not simply change your schedule. It changes your standards. It changes your habits. It changes your future. And in the next part, we will uncover why mastering 1 single hour each day eventually teaches you to master something even greater, your entire life. Master 1 hour, master your entire life. There is an old saying that successful people value what others ignore. Most people hear that and immediately think about money, business, opportunity. But the greatest investment successful people make is not financial. It is time. More specifically, it is intentional time, because they understand something that most people never discover. You cannot control everything that happens in life. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control other people. You cannot control unexpected problems, but you can always control how you invest 1 hour, and that single realization quietly changes everything. Imagine a sculptor standing in front of a large block of stone. The sculpture does not appear in one afternoon. It appears through thousands of small movements, one careful strike, then another, then another. Every movement seems insignificant, yet together they create a masterpiece. Your life is no different. Every focused hour removes something unnecessary. Every disciplined hour shapes your character. Every intentional hour reveals more of the person you are capable of becoming. The masterpiece is not created in one day. It is created 1 hour at a time. Another important truth is that your future is being practiced long before it arrives. People often believe success suddenly appears. One promotion, one successful business, one opportunity, one lucky moment. But success is usually recognition of habits that have existed for years. Confidence is practiced before it is noticed. Leadership is practiced before it is rewarded. Wisdom is practiced before it is respected. The hour you spend today is rehearsal for the life you will live tomorrow. That means every single day you are practicing something. You are either practicing discipline or practicing distraction, practicing focus or practicing excuses, practicing growth or practicing comfort. The question is not whether you are practicing. The question is what you are becoming better at. Another powerful lesson is that small disciplines eliminate big regrets. Ask older people about their greatest regrets. Very few regret working on themselves. Very few regret reading too many books. Very few regret exercising. Very few regret learning new skills. Instead, they regret waiting. Waiting until next year. Waiting until life slowed down. Waiting until the children grew older. Waiting until they felt more confident. Waiting until the perfect moment arrived. But perfection never arrived. Only time continued moving. That is why protecting 1 hour today is far easier than trying to recover 10 lost years tomorrow. Another important idea is that discipline creates opportunities that motivation never can. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes like the weather. Some mornings you feel inspired. Other mornings you feel nothing. If your future depends on motivation, your future will always be unstable. Discipline works differently. Discipline says, I will continue whether I feel inspired or not. That is why discipline quietly defeats talent, defeats intelligence, defeats good intentions, because discipline keeps moving after excitement disappears. 1 protected hour every day teaches this lesson better than anything else. You stop asking yourself, do I feel like doing this? Instead, you begin asking, who do I want to become? That single question changes every decision. Another powerful truth is that focus has become a rare skill. Look around. Very few people can concentrate for 30 uninterrupted minutes. Their attention jumps constantly. A message, a notification, a headline, another video, another distraction. The modern world rewards interruption, but extraordinary achievement still rewards focus. The ability to sit quietly and work deeply for 1 uninterrupted hour has become a competitive advantage, because while everyone else is distracted, you are improving. While everyone else is consuming, you are creating. While everyone else is reacting, you are building. Those differences appear small today, but they become enormous over time. Another lesson is that 1 hour changes more than productivity. It changes self-respect. Think about how confidence is built, not through compliments, not through positive thinking, through promises kept. Every time you protect your hour, you make a promise. You tell yourself, My future matters. My dreams matter. My growth matters. Then you prove it with action. The subconscious mind notices. It begins trusting you again. That trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes courage. Courage becomes action. And action changes life. Another important concept is patience. The greatest danger during this journey is expecting immediate transformation. Many people give themselves one focused hour for a week. Then ask, why has nothing changed? Everything has changed. You simply cannot see it yet. Roots always grow before branches. Character always develops before success. Discipline always appears before achievement. The visible rewards are simply delayed. That does not mean they are absent. Imagine planting an oak tree. For years it appears to grow slowly, yet beneath the surface, an enormous root system is developing. Those roots will eventually support something extraordinary. Your daily hour works exactly the same way. Every session strengthens invisible foundations. Focus, patience, character, wisdom, consistency. Eventually, those invisible qualities create visible success. Finally, imagine meeting yourself 10 years from today. One version protected 1 hour every day. The other continued saying, "I will start tomorrow." The difference between them is almost impossible to measure. One walks with confidence, speaks with clarity, makes wise decisions, lives intentionally. The other still wonders where the years disappeared. Neither received extra talent. Neither received extra luck. Both received the same 24 hours every day. The only difference was that one person understood the extraordinary value hidden inside a single hour. And once they discovered it, their entire life quietly began changing. Because mastering 1 hour is never really about 60 minutes. It is about mastering yourself. And in the next part, we will discover why the people who completely transform their lives all have one thing in common. They stop managing time and start managing their identity. Stop managing time and start managing your identity. Most people believe they have a time management problem. They buy planners, download productivity applications, watch videos about scheduling, create detailed calendars. Yet after a few weeks, they find themselves exactly where they started. Busy, overwhelmed, always running out of time. The problem was never the calendar. The problem was never the clock. The real problem was identity, because your schedule will always reflect the person you believe you are. If you believe you are someone who procrastinates, your schedule will prove it. If you believe you are someone who gets distracted easily, your actions will confirm it. If you believe you lack discipline, every difficult task becomes evidence supporting that belief. This is why changing your life begins with changing your identity. Not your planner, not your alarm clock, not your productivity system, your identity. Another important truth is that every action is a vote. Imagine that every decision you make casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Reading for 1 hour is a vote. Skipping your workout is a vote. Learning a new skill is a vote. Making another excuse is a vote. One vote does not determine the final result, but thousands of votes certainly do. This means you do not become disciplined through one perfect day. You become disciplined because your daily actions repeatedly vote for discipline. You do not become confident through one motivational speech. You become confident because your actions repeatedly prove that you can trust yourself. Identity is built through evidence, and evidence is created through action. That is why your protected hour matters so much. Every single day, it casts another vote for the future version of yourself. Another powerful lesson is that successful people protect their identity more than their comfort. Think about an athlete. Even when nobody is watching, they continue training. Why? Because they no longer see training as something they do. It is part of who they are. A writer writes. A musician practices. A builder builds. A disciplined person protects their hour, not because someone forces them, because it would feel unnatural not to. That is the goal, not forcing discipline forever. Becoming the type of person for whom discipline feels normal. Another important idea is that your environment quietly shapes your identity. Walk into a clean library. Immediately your mind becomes calmer. Walk into a noisy room filled with distractions. Your attention begins scattering. Environment influences behavior more than most people realize. This is why your 1 hour deserves its own environment. Perhaps it is a quiet corner of your home, a small desk, a comfortable chair, a notebook, a place where your mind immediately recognizes this is where growth happens. Over time, that place becomes associated with focus, with learning, with purpose. Eventually, simply entering that environment prepares your mind for deep work. Another powerful truth is that discipline eliminates decision fatigue. The average person makes thousands of decisions every day, many of them unnecessary. Should I start now? Should I wait? Should I check my phone first? Should I watch one more video? Every unnecessary decision drains mental energy. Disciplined people remove these conversations. The decision has already been made. Every morning at 7, every evening at 8. Whatever time they choose, the hour belongs to growth. No debate, no negotiation, no emotional discussion, just action. This simplicity creates enormous freedom because energy is no longer wasted deciding. It is invested doing. Another lesson is that habits become invisible after enough repetition. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably do not debate it every morning. You simply do it. Imagine if your personal growth became just as automatic. Reading became automatic. Exercise became automatic. Planning became automatic. Learning became automatic. Learning became automatic. This is what identity creates. Behavior no longer requires constant motivation. It becomes part of your normal life. That is why your first 60 days matter, then your first 6 months, then your first year. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like discipline. It simply feels like who you are. Another important truth is that extraordinary lives are built privately before they are admired publicly. People celebrate successful businesses. They celebrate best-selling books. They celebrate remarkable careers. But they rarely see the quiet mornings, the lonely evenings, the countless hours spent improving when nobody cared. Every extraordinary achievement has an invisible history. Hours of preparation, hours of failure, hours of repetition, hours of discipline. The applause always arrives after the work, never before. This is why you must stop seeking immediate recognition. Instead, seek private excellence. Because private excellence eventually creates public results. Another powerful concept is delayed identity. Many people quit because they still feel like the old version of themselves. They say, "I still feel lazy. I still feel distracted. I still struggle." That is completely normal. Identity changes more slowly than behavior. You may act differently long before you believe differently. Keep going. Eventually your mind catches up with your actions. One morning you realize something remarkable. You no longer have to force yourself. You simply show up. That is when discipline becomes part of your identity. Another lesson is that the quality of your future depends on the quality of your repeated decisions. Not your biggest decision, your repeated decisions. Anyone can make one good choice. The challenge is making another tomorrow, and another the next day, then another the following week. Consistency transforms isolated decisions into lifelong habits. Lifelong habits transform ordinary people into extraordinary individuals. Finally, imagine meeting someone who has protected 1 hour every day for the last decade. What would you notice? Probably not their schedule. You would notice their confidence, their calmness, their wisdom, their discipline, their ability to focus while everyone else is distracted. You would be seeing the result of more than 3,000 carefully invested hours. Not hours spent chasing entertainment. Not hours spent reacting to life. Hours spent intentionally becoming someone better. That is the true purpose of this audiobook. Not teaching you to manage 60 minutes. Teaching you to become someone worthy of the future you dream about. Because when your identity changes, your habits change. When your habits change, your days change. When your days change, your life changes. And in the next part, we will bring everything together and discover why one simple hour, protected every single day, can completely rewrite the story of your life. The person you become is worth more than the time you spend. By now, you have probably realized something that very few people ever understand. This audiobook was never really about finding an extra hour. It was about discovering an extra version of yourself. The version that has always existed beneath the distractions, beneath the excuses, beneath the constant feeling of being too busy. Because hidden underneath every unfinished dream is a person who simply needed uninterrupted time. Imagine carving a statue from a block of marble. At first, all you see is stone, heavy, ordinary, unremarkable. But the sculptor sees something different. He sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of the chisel removes something unnecessary. The statue does not become beautiful because something is added. It becomes beautiful because everything unnecessary is removed. Your life works exactly the same way. 1 hour each day removes another distraction, another excuse, another fear, another habit that no longer belongs in your future. Slowly, the person you were meant to become begins appearing. Not because life changed, because you changed. Another important truth is that greatness is rarely created through dramatic moments. Movies teach us that one decision changes everything. Reality teaches something different. One decision starts everything. The real transformation happens afterward, through repetition, through consistency, through ordinary mornings when nobody is watching. Imagine reading 10 pages every day. 10 pages seem insignificant. But after 1 year, you have read more than 3,000 pages. After 5 years, you have absorbed ideas that completely reshape how you think. The same principle applies to exercise, learning, meditation, writing, saving money, building relationships. Everything meaningful compounds. The problem is that people often quit before compounding becomes visible. They dig a well for water. After a few days, they find nothing, so they move somewhere else. Then they dig again. Then they move again. Eventually, they become exhausted, not because water does not exist, because they never stayed in one place long enough to reach it. Life rewards depth, not constant restarting. One protected hour teaches depth. It teaches commitment. It teaches patience. And patience has become one of the rarest strengths in modern life. Another lesson is that the world constantly asks you to become someone else. Advertisements tell you that you are incomplete. Social media tells you that everyone else is ahead. News tells you to be afraid. People tell you what success should look like. Without realizing it, many people spend years chasing someone else's definition of a meaningful life. One quiet hour changes that. Silence allows your own voice to become louder than everyone else's. You begin asking different questions. What actually matters to me? What kind of person do I want to become? What will matter 10 years from now? Those questions are far more valuable than quick answers, because they create direction, and direction creates purpose. Another powerful truth is that purpose grows in quiet places. Noise creates reaction. Silence creates reflection. When your mind is constantly entertained, it has no opportunity to think deeply. Some of the greatest ideas in history were born during quiet walks, long mornings, peaceful evenings, moments without interruption. Your protected hour becomes that place, a place where your future finally has room to speak. Another important idea is that every disciplined day weakens the person you used to be, the person who always waited, the person who constantly doubted themselves, the person who postponed dreams. That version of you becomes weaker every time you choose growth over comfort. Eventually, one morning you wake up and realize something remarkable. You no longer recognize the person you once were, not because everything around you changed, because everything inside you changed. That is the true reward of protecting 1 hour every day. Not simply becoming more productive, becoming more intentional, more confident, more focused, more alive. And in the final part, we will discover why the greatest investment you will ever make is not measured by money, but by the person you become after years of protecting 1 simple hour every single day. 1 hour today, a lifetime of change tomorrow. As this journey begins to come to an end, there is one final truth that deserves your full attention. Your life is not changed by what you know. It is changed by what you repeatedly do. Knowledge without action becomes entertainment. Dreams without action become frustration. Plans without action become regret. But 1 hour of consistent action becomes transformation. That is the lesson hidden inside this entire audiobook. Imagine standing at the edge of a mountain. When you look toward the top, the journey feels impossible. The distance seems overwhelming. The climb appears exhausting. Many people turn around before taking the first step, not because they are incapable, because they become intimidated by the entire journey. But every experienced climber understands something important. You never climb a mountain all at once. You climb it one step at a time. One careful step, then another, then another. Hours later, you look behind you and realize how far you have come. Life works exactly the same way. Nobody builds a remarkable life in one weekend. Nobody develops extraordinary discipline in 1 month. Nobody becomes wise after reading a single book. Everything meaningful is built through patient repetition. 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Until one morning you realize you are standing in a place that once seemed impossible. Another important truth is that your future self is being created, whether you realize it or not. Every day, someone is quietly becoming stronger. Someone is learning a new skill. Someone is building a business. Someone is improving their health. Someone is protecting their hour. At the very same time, someone else is postponing, waiting, complaining, scrolling, escaping. Both are creating a future. The only difference is that one is creating it intentionally. The other is creating it accidentally. The future never stops arriving. The question is whether you are preparing for it. Another powerful lesson is that life does not reward intentions. It rewards consistency. Millions of people intend to become healthier. Millions intend to become financially free. Millions intend to write a book, start a business, learn a language, repair relationships. Very few actually do, because intention feels productive. But only action produces results. This is why protecting 1 hour every day becomes so powerful. It transforms intention into evidence. Every completed hour says, I am no longer just dreaming. I am becoming. Another important idea is that the greatest competition you will ever face is not another person. It is the version of yourself that constantly chooses comfort. The voice that says, start tomorrow. You deserve another break. 1 more hour will not matter. That voice will never completely disappear, but it becomes weaker every time you refuse to obey it. Every disciplined decision strengthens your character. Every excuse ignored strengthens your future. Eventually, you realize that victory was never about defeating other people. It was always about leading yourself. That is the highest form of success. Another powerful truth is that 1 hour creates something money can never buy: self-respect. When you repeatedly invest in yourself, something begins changing inside. You stop doubting your ability. You stop making empty promises. You stop searching for confidence from other people, because confidence has already begun growing from within. You trust yourself. You know that when life becomes difficult, you will continue. When distractions appear, you will return to your priorities. When opportunities arrive, you will be prepared. That quiet confidence becomes one of the greatest rewards of discipline. No one can give it to you. No one can take it away. It is earned, hour by hour, day by day. Another lesson is that one day you will look back on this season of your life. You will not remember every task you completed. You will not remember every page you read. You will not remember every early morning, but you will remember the person you became because of them. The stronger mind, the calmer heart, the disciplined habits. The courage to keep going when quitting would have been easier. Those qualities will stay with you for the rest of your life. They will influence every relationship, every opportunity, every challenge, every dream. Because once discipline becomes part of your identity, it follows you everywhere. Finally, imagine tomorrow morning. The alarm rings. The world is exactly the same as it was yesterday. The same responsibilities, the same challenges, the same opportunities. But this time, you understand something that many people never will. You understand that your future is not hidden inside a lucky break. It is not waiting for perfect timing. It is not reserved for someone more talented than you. It is quietly waiting inside the next 60 minutes. Protect that hour. Respect that hour. Invest in that hour. Because 1 hour becomes one habit. One habit becomes one lifestyle. One lifestyle becomes one destiny. Years from now, people may look at your life and call you fortunate. They may admire your discipline. They may wonder how you became so focused, so capable, and so calm. But you will know the truth. It was never one extraordinary moment. It was one ordinary hour, repeated with extraordinary consistency. And that is how everything changes.